It's Cryptid Profile time once again. For those new here, this is where I take a look at a cryptid, or cryptids, and their stories and reported sightings, and give a score on the probability of the animal existing in more than myth and legend. For those of us that like to hunt down cryptid animals, looking for creatures which are similar across different cultures and found in different parts of the world, provides an amount of corroboration for the similar stories that are shared across these different cultures. The distances can sometimes be far, and the cultures vastly different. On other occasions, the similarities may almost be exactly the same. This brings me to the two cryptids for today, both snake-like beasts that are believed to be found in the wilds of North America, with two groups of Native American tribes having legends of separate animals that, to me at least, seem to be the same beast. So let's take a look at the animals known as the Unhcegila and Haietlik. Welcome to IF, videos on history, mystery and the strange. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a video again. These two monsters are from Lakota and Nootka legend and hold a special place in native people's minds. The Unhcegila is most commonly associated with the Dakota and Lakota Sioux tribes. There are a number of differing spellings for the cryptids if you're searching it out. The first is Unhcegilla, the second Unhcegilla, and Unktehel. The pronunciations also vary through different dialects. The cryptid is said to inhabit the rivers and lakes of the Lakota territory, a serpentoid beast which, it is claimed, has been responsible for many unexplained disappearances and deaths. The legends tell tale of a mighty saltwater snake seen swimming up rivers and then polluting them before it flooded the land with salt water, this turning the soil barren so nothing could grow. A couple of native boys from the family of a great warrior of the Bear clan, with the help of their bows and a little mystical power, managed to slay the beast. They managed to fire their arrows into one of the 7 vulnerable spots on the body. It is said the cryptid did not die quietly. It writhed and thrashed over the land, causing yet more damage. Adding to the dire situation, the sun scorched the flesh from the now dead animal's bones and, sucking up all the moisture, left the surrounding area dry. This is, according to the myth, how the Badlands were created. In a twist of fate or a coincidence, this area is full of fossilized dinosaur bones, which may have inspired or contributed to the legend. Moving on to the Haietlik, an animal that is also named the lightning serpent. Legends of the Haietlik say it is both a friend to and a weapon of the thunderbirds. It is used by them to hunt for whales. The description of the beast tells of a huge serpent with a pointed head, which is as sharp as a knife, and it possesses a tongue which can shoot lightning bolts. The Haietlik would shoot this lightning at a whale, injuring them so that the hunting thunderbird could capture and carry off its prey. The Haietlik is said to make its home among the feathers of the thunderbird. Here it lays waiting to be unleashed with a flap of the mighty bird's wings. A more grounded habitat for the creature is like the first cryptid, with the Unhcegila people saying it calls the inland and coastal waters home. The cryptid's association with the hunting of whales saw it being used as a talisman. British sailors visiting the Pacific Northwest in 1791 reportedly saw representations of the Haietlik painted on the side of canoes and other boats. Images of the Haietlik also appear in petroglyphs on the coast of British Columbia and as decorations on whaling harpoons. The creature is an important cultural figure that is part of the ceremony for a marriage between a chief's daughter and the son of another tribe. Another marriage ceremony involved dancers in Haietlik masks entering the house of the bride's family. The cryptid is also the mascot for the Canadian Forces 442 Transport and Rescue Squadron. They have a badge that features a red Haietlik in a northwest coast art style. There have been sightings of creatures that fit with these legends. Mysterious Universe published an article in which writer Terry Toombs penned that there is a sea serpent which often emerges in Alaskan folklore, which again sounds similar to our two cryptids. I quote the article as follows. In mythology, the Tesseruk are large snake-like sea creatures that are believed to roam Alaska's waters. Toombs wrote, they are described as having a head 7 feet long and a tail ending in a flipper for a total of 12 to 15 feet in length. Tesseruk was said to snatch people from the docks and piers. In 2009, a surprising piece of footage taken by a fisherman off of the Alaskan coast appeared to show some large serpent-like creature swimming in the ocean's waters. Paul LeBlanc, the former head of the Department of Earth and Ocean Sciences at the University of British Columbia, was quoted by Discovery News saying, "I am quite impressed with this video. Although it was shot under rainy circumstances in a bouncy ship, it's very genuine." LeBlanc, also co-author of the book Cabriosaurus Survivor from the Deep, which makes the case for Caddy, the name given to the sea serpent that occasionally is seen there in the region. Many have claimed to see Caddy over the years, and a number of carcasses have washed ashore which were believed to belong to the creature. Most of these, however, were identified later as the remains of a known species, like sharks and whales. "It must be a mammal or a reptile," LeBlanc said of the serpent-like creature in the Fisherman's 2009 film, since it oscillates up and down in a vertical plane, which eliminates sideways oscillating fish. This description appears to be consistent with similar reports of humped, serpent-like creatures seen along the Pacific coast for more than a century. It could be that all of these creatures really are merely legends, or perhaps it could be that the cultural comparisons between old and new seen here represent something else, something akin to a long-running commentary on unusual things seen in Alaska and the Pacific Northwest by natives and newcomers alike. As a final note, I wish to briefly reference a passage from another article of mine published last month, where I referred to the discovery of a new species of whale off the Alaskan coast late last year. The relevant quote is as follows: "It is worth noting that in late 2016, a new species of whale was discovered following the discovery of an unusual carcass on an Alaskan beach. Japanese legend had previously told of a dark-colored beaked whale, though no particular association had been made between the alleged beast and any modern identifiable species. Upon discovery of the Alaskan mystery carcass, questions about the creature led to the discovery of a set of bones on display at the nearby educational center, which also belonged to this variety of whale and was soon determined to be a newly discovered species. With new species still turning up in Alaska's coastal waters, maybe we could be open, but with a cautious mind, when it comes to the potential that a few new additional species might still turn up." If you'd like to know more about this Alaskan cryptid, there's a link above. It's not only Native American folklore that has snake-like and serpentine monsters at its core. Snakes hold a special place in our psyche. Many people have a fear of the animals, and this makes them a target, often being used to symbolize both positive and negative elements by ancient cultures. Around the world, there are many stories of cryptid snakes and snake-like beings. In African mythology, an ancient snake god made the sun, moon, and thereafter the earth, which he formed from a lump of clay. This god also created a set of twins, the primitive beings called Numol. The twins were half human, half snake, a form that has been linked to the idea of a secret ruling reptilian race. Central America has a long history of popular serpent gods. The ancient Mayan book, Chilambalam, tells us that the first people to inhabit the Yucatan were the Chains, or people of the serpent. The mythology say the Chains were led across the sea by the serpent god Itzamna, who ruled by his esoteric knowledge rather than strength. Feathered serpents were also depicted often, Quetzalcoatl being one of the most prolific. Moving over to Asia, in China the serpent god is depicted as the famous dragons of Chinese mythology. Naga feature heavily in all legends associated with Hinduism and Buddhism. In India, like China, the Nagas were reported to be an ancient serpent race which descended from the sky. The ancient book of Dzyan, possibly one of the oldest Sanskrit sources, speaks of the ancient Indian myths. The Nagas were said to be human above the waist and possessed the tail of a dragon or a snake. They could also turn themselves either fully human or fully serpent in form. Since female Nagas were portrayed as extremely beautiful, Indian dynasties claimed their family origin as a union between human and Naga females. Egypt is the location of many strange mystical animals, the serpent commonly associated with immortality and the gods in the Old Middle Kingdom periods in Egyptian mythology. A snake was depicted on the tombs carrying the pharaoh off into the sky to the land of the gods. The snake came to be a symbol of kingship around this time and appeared on the headdresses of many pharaohs. Snakes also feature heavily in Christian beliefs. The Old Testament references serpent god ancestors in what is becoming somewhat of a pattern. Snakes are strongly associated with the story of Moses. It is written that God instructed him to make a serpent head idol so that when anyone was bitten, they could look at the serpent head idol and, at this point, their bite would then be healed. And we can't skip over probably the most famous snake in history, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, found curled around the Tree of Life, who then gave forbidden knowledge to all of mankind. In Greek and Roman mythology, the snake symbolizes a guardian spirit. This has seen many found carved in ancient altars. In the Temple of Athena in Athens, a snake held in a cage was believed to be the reincarnation of Erythothonius, an early king in ancient Greece. This is very similar to the practices carried out in South America. Medusa and other gorgons, female creatures, had sharp fangs and live snakes for hair. This association of woman and serpents extended to Medea, who was pulled in a chariot led by serpents, as well as the Minoan snake goddess, who held a snake in each hand. The Celts also associated snakes with wisdom, fertility, and immortality, and tended to connect them with healing pools and water. This brings us full circle back to the Native American Indian tribal beliefs. The snake again is a symbol of fertility and rebirth. In their mythology, the giant snakes can swallow a human in one gulp. Native mythology also included a symbol that represents the snake deity called Avanu, that brought storms to the land. This in the same way as our two cryptids. So, are these giant serpents just creatures of myth and legend, or could they have existed? We know of the Titanoboa, a giant snake that surely, if seen by early man, could have inspired these legends. The anaconda of today impresses with its size, but for thousands of years the legends of truly giant and monstrous serpents have persisted. Could this be because there are still giant snakes out there waiting to be discovered, sometimes seen and inspiring legends? I think so, and my score for giant serpents existing is a 100%. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like what I do here on the channel, hit that red button, like and share. You can catch the latest by searching We Are If. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.